What is up, retro movie fans? My name is Andrew Jasic alongside Matt Thrash. Today we are transforming back into 1985. We are going to be looking at the chilling movie House, starring William Catt, Katie Lenz, and George Wendt. 1985, meaning it came out in the video stores probably about late 1985, 1986. Thrash, how are we doing today?
Man, I'm so excited to be doing this. Man, you know, the reason why we want to do this is because we want to show you the movies, maybe even the games that we used to rent in video stores back when we were kids. That way, all you little nerds out there don't have to do it, but you can still enjoy along with us.
Yeah, I dig it, man. I'm first of all, I'm really excited about this project, about us doing these things. We were talking about this for some time and trying to get into an idea of actually coming together and doing this, and now it's kind of finally happening. So hopefully it picks up a little bit of steam. So everybody out there in YouTube land or wherever you happen to be watching this, please subscribe, like, comment, and all that sort of fun stuff. Helps the algorithm, help us grow a little bit, and then if there's enough demand for it, we'll continue to do more. We'll do movies, games, old wrestling pay-per-views, right?
Yeah.
We are little bits of nerds. But today we are talking about House. We're talking about the 1985 release of House. So first of all, there's been lots of names, lots of movies and stuff with this name of House. So
it's not the one about the doctor, folks. Okay?
No,
we're not doing Dr. House.
Is that the cartoon one? There's like
that's the one with the guy.
Oh, the show.
He does the doctor thing, and everyone watched it. Yeah, no, this is not House Doctor.
Not a fan of the House Doctor thing. Although I'm sure it was great for its time, but it's definitely not. It doesn't fit the retro-esque. Give it like another 10 years. We'll be on it. All right. So, but today we are talking about House, a very warm-hearted story about a father trying to find his lost son, starring the I guess the adventures of Roger Cobb, a struggling writer who is trying to write his next book. But obviously having a lot of flashbacks about the Vietnam War, and of course not knowing exactly where his young son Jimmy is going to. So let's take it to the let's go on this adventure together. This is a very ridiculous movie. For all the right reasons, right? And I remember being scared as shit watching this when I was a kid.
Yes, there were so many scenes that would I would just be like, ah!
Yeah. It was horrifying. It really was. It was good. I liked it a lot. So hopefully we can relive some of those moments together. So first of all, the movie opens up with this big, elaborate, beautiful mansion-esque house. And we have a delivery driver coming in to bring in groceries to this nice old lady, right? That's where we started off the movie. And so first of all, this is probably, to me, this is one of the scariest moments in the entire film, when he goes up and he sees this painting of hell.
First off, this guy just walks into the house. He just I think he knocks twice, and he's like, "Oh, hello, I brought you groceries."
Mrs. Hooper, I'm here. I'm not going to rape you or anything, but I'm here.
Right?
I'm here with your rutabagas. Oh, Mrs. Hooper's a very trusting old lady. God bless her. I'm sure she's going to come out just fine in this movie. But you're right. He goes up. He doesn't even knock. He goes right in on his little moped and brings in a bunch of groceries and walks up these stairs. He sees this painting of hell, and this kid says something, and I want to say it's heck. Right? Is that what he says when he sees this painting?
He says, I think he looks at it and he goes, he says that's creepy or something like that.
Sick or something. I remember being a kid and being like, is he saying heck or is he saying sick or what is he saying? Because I was just like, okay, this is a very nice boy. He doesn't want to swear or whatever the case is. But, even though he was like 30 years old, they always have like 30-year-olds playing these teenagers. Right. But anyway, so he goes up the stairs. He goes up the stairs and goes in like two doors. And I remember being a kid watching this over and over and over again. I remember feeling like, okay, once he's past that first door, like the scare is coming. You know what I mean? So I always prepared myself for that second door, because that second door is when it happens. Yeah.
Oh.
So he goes in the first door, nothing happens. Then he comes in the second door, and then all of a sudden we see Mrs. Hooper, like George of the Jungle, just chilling there. And Horrifying.
She's hanging.
She's hanging.
She hung herself.
Yeah. And it you know, looking back on it now, you watch it now and it's just like, okay, it's obviously like there's a support beam. And obviously you don't want like, you know, a Mae Young incident where she's just like, you know, like tuck and roll, grandma. But you could tell, like, you know, you could tell now, but you couldn't tell then how scary that was, because it looked really real. You know, CGI was kind of a not necessarily involved yet.
It was non-existent. It was non-existent in '85. Yeah,
but it was scary. That son of a bitch ran out of there. As would I. There is there's a little bit of a backstory for Roger Cobb being a once famous writer who's now stuck in a slump about not being able to get his whole writing career kind of in the right mindset. He's had writer block and everything else, and he's having a lot of flashbacks about the war. First of all, the war flashbacks are pretty terrifying looking back on it now.
Also, don't forget, the real terrifying thing was, if you remember, he was signing his latest book that came out, and he had that line of fans, and they were just a bunch of mongoloids. And like you had this one lady that was talking about his ex-wife, who is a famous Hollywood actress in the movie, and he's just like, he even reaches over and like leans over to his agent, and he's like, "Who are these people?" Yeah, and he's like, these are your devoted fans.
these are your devoted fans. And it's great because right after he says that, so first of all, you know, you had that lady who just wouldn't shut the hell up about his ex, and then you had this stupid, and I still can't tell watching back on it now. Is this a dude? Is this a girl? Who was like kind of screaming like, ah, you know. Just going, oh, they're like really excited about it, and then like when his agent says like, "Oh, these are your devoted fans," and there's this one cynical asshole looks at him, is just like, "I'll treasure this always."
That's right.
Or just, you know, he obviously doesn't give a shit. You know, he's just like, I don't even know if that was supposed to go in the movie, where like the director just pissed him off before that scene.
Always
treasure this, always. Just walks away. But then, yeah, you get the semblance of Roger Cobb obviously struggling with his stuff or whatever, and then coming back to write, and that's when he really starts to have these experiences with these Vietnam War flashbacks.
Yes.
And then obviously eventually he's talking about going up to get this house where his grandma eventually, you know, inevitably died. That must be Mrs. Hooper that we talked so fondly of before. And he goes over and he sees this sales agent, who asks him how he's doing.
who's a total dickbag.
Total dickbag. And he
like doesn't he like fire a harpoon at him?
Yeah, he does. He fires it. Rightfully so.
Sorry.
Well, that's good. Oh, sorry about that. Because right when he sees him, he's like, "Oh, Roger, how are you?" And he's like, "Well, you know, I have he's like, "Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. Come on in. Let's talk about money. You know,
come on in. Let's talk about how much all this stuff is going to cost." Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he did wear that V-neck. Remember? He had that V-neck on.
And you know what? There was something that was not gay about the '80s. There was, you know, if it was in the '80s, it was okay. And it was just like, okay, this is a little bit feminine. Guys shouldn't wear this, but it is the '80s. You know,
it's okay.
I think it's okay.
So what they wore back then.
So Roger Cobb shoots him with a harpoon. He dies, and then the movie's over. During this whole interaction that he's with the guy with the sales agent, he's having this flashback of what's happening with his kid, and you know the
drowned in a pool, right?
Supposedly drowned in the pool, right?
Right.
And there was that you know, that kind of mystery that was set in the very beginning was what happened to this kid, because you know, Roger sees him drowning in the pool. And he jumps in the pool, and obviously nothing's there. And then when he comes up, if you notice that during that scene, he comes up during that scene, like where it's totally calm underwater. There's this really nice mellow mood almost, even though he's panicking. It's just like this, ooh. And then he comes up, it's like the fucking theme from Psycho times 10. Jimmy!
But the best of the scene that follows that, they're inside the house, and he's consoling his wife because they must have lived there at one time or whatever. He's consoling his wife, and all of a sudden you see the grandmother behind like the officers,
Yeah.
And she's like kind of poking her head in. And like one of the officers looks at her and she just goes, and the grandma or the mom just all of a sudden goes, the aunt, that's what it was, the aunt.
Oh, that's
It
right. It was
was
the
the
ant.
house. It was the house, Roger.
Yeah.
The house got him.
Yeah.
And then the wife just goes, will you shut up, you crazy old bat?
You old bat. And she said, touchy. But yeah, so Roger Cobb, he's having all these flashbacks and decided to actually keep the house, and that's his way of I guess looking back on hindsight, it's Roger knowing that something involving the house is involved with finding his son. So anyway, so Roger meets his neighbor, who
yes, best character in the movie,
who is just amazing, and as soon as he came in to the scene, you just heard a bunch of people saying Norm. But he was so good in that movie because it was obvious like he was a bother to Roger, and Roger just didn't, he just didn't want his company, and then he was the guy who's the asshole, but he's our asshole.
Yeah.
So they form like some sort of an interesting bond, Roger and
the first interaction between them, it's so good because remember George Wendt, who plays I forget his name in the movie, but
Harold.
Yeah. So George Wendt plays Harold, and of course the legendary William Catt plays Roger Cobb. If you that name sounds familiar, you probably saw him in Greatest American Hero,
or House 4.
Or House,
which is another amazing story. We got to do House 4 next.
Oh my God, I haven't seen House 4 in a long time.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. But we're gonna watch it. But
the first interaction between Harold and Roger is Harold basically goes, "Yeah, I'm glad you moved in here." Like the lady here before was just she was the biggest bitch under the sun. Just a real horror actually. And then Roger goes, "Oh, that was my aunt. Lovely lady. Absolutely a peach.
Heart of gold, though.
Heart of gold, though. Hey, you want to come over? I'll cook you dinner."
Yeah.
Again, not gay because it was the 80s.
It was the
you
80s.
Invited your neighbor over for dinner.
You single men invited other single men over for dinner. That's what they did. That's and he wore his best V-neck for the occasion.
Yep.
That was a good thing back then. But then Roger starts to notice like some weird stuff in the house.
The first thing is when he opens up the closet for the first time in the grandmother's room, and you got that crazy, grotesque monster that's got like 9 faces on it, and it comes out and it scratches them.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that. Okay, so first of all, that puppet was amazing.
Yes,
it was so good. It reminds me a lot of the puppet in Hellraiser. If you ever seen Hellraiser, right at the very end, looks a lot like that. When he came out and just scratching the shit out of him or whatever the case.
Yes.
And Roger's like, I'm going to close the door and just go back to bed.
I'm going to close the door and I'm going to try and film this shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he tries to.
It's the best part of the movie.
This is the best part of the movie where he actually tries to capture. He obviously knows that something is hiding in his closet, so he goes and tries to film this whole thing, and then we get the yeah.
But he's testing out all his cameras. Like he buys all these cameras, and now for some reason he's wearing full on army fatigue.
Yep.
And I'm talking about like a helmet, some goggles. And he's sitting there, and you have like this very like triumphant military music.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like he goes like this, and he gets up and he runs down the steps. He literally jumps like halfway down the stairs, and he actually falls. It's like a real fall.
Yeah.
And then he runs out of his front door. He runs and does a double knee slide, and he goes, "Yeah!" All while George Wendt is standing there. And now here's the messed up part. Andy. George Wendt is standing on his lawn while his dog is taking a crap.
Yeah, on Roger's lawn.
On Roger's lawn. And George Wendt looks at Roger doing this, and he goes, "Hiya, Raj.
Hey, Raj.
Everything okay?"
But then, so I think after that, then you had the fish. Right.
Yes.
The swordfish
the fish
that came to life.
That scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Horrifying.
I don't know why.
Horrifying. And every time I see those little bass, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and they're like singing.
And they sing that. Yeah, I was just like, that's the fish from House. That's
yeah. And then you see that, and like people are like, "Oh, isn't this great? I'm going to buy this for my grandpa." And I'm like, "Ah!" After he shoots the
Yeah,
fish with a
shoots the
shotgun.
fish. The fish cries.
Yep, and then is that when the cops came over? No, the cops came over afterwards. So the part that you're at, go ahead.
Right. So now he gets the gimmick at the door. He goes to the door. It's his ex-wife Sandy, who is just insanely hot, by the way.
Yeah, she's super. Yeah,
Just unbelievably hot.
she's 80s hot.
Yeah, she's 80. She'd be today's hot. Like, I'd imagine at this point, and I'll pull it up, but she's,
What was her name? It was
let's see. Hold on.
Kay Lenz.
Kay Lenz.
Yeah.
Let's look up
Fox.
let's look up Kay Lenz now. She's probably like ridiculously hot.
She's probably still hot. I bet you she's still got it.
Well,
Is it that bad? Is it bad? What is she, like 400 pounds?
no.
What is it?
No, I mean, she just,
She looks like the Crypt Keeper, doesn't she?
she's a little beat. So she shows up looking hot as ever in her purple dress. And Roger still has a shotgun from when he shot the fish, the swordfish. And she's like, well, what are you doing with that gun? And then he puts the gun down. The bullet rolls off the table. She goes to get it. And then she comes up, and then we know what happens. So just this grotesque, disgusting monster. And again, this is part of that. I was never scared of this point, except for the part where she comes right up. That was scary.
I was going to say, you weren't scared of that? I was like, oh my God. And then I realized, oh my God, that's what all my ex-girlfriends look like.
That's right. Well, listen, you know what? That's an accurate depiction of what Kay Lenz looks like now. So if we need a reference, no, she's good looking. She's actually really good looking for an older lady. She really is.
Oh, good.
I don't think she's probably in her 70s, honestly.
Yeah, it'll be meet her at like Comic-Con, and she's gonna be like, "Hey, aren't you one half of those assholes?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That I played in House.
Said I look beat, So all right. So anyway, so they do this thing. She comes up and she pops up, and that's kind of scary. And then she goes and just starts to beat the shit out of Roger Cobb.
Yeah.
All the while like sounding like Liu Kang from Street Fighter. Just
Yeah.
Wah!
Yeah, like it was like, "Hello, Roger."
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It was scary. So, and that was kind of cool, really with the way she was like sounding. I thought that was like really neat, the way she was coming across. It's just like, "Hey, Roger."
Yeah, all raspy, and you're just like, ew.
It was pretty awesome. But he ends up shooting her right between the tits.
Right in the tits.
Right in the tits. And like right after that, he was like, yeah! And then did another slide outside. Hey, Rog, speaking.
Hey, Roger, I heard a gunshot.
I heard you shot your wife in the tits. So anyway, the gun is heard by his neighbor Harold, who then calls the police and says, "Oh, this is a suicide attempt." Roger sees the police come and goes outside, pretending like he's cleaning the gun, and then he's just saying like, "Hey, I was just cleaning my gun," and blah blah blah.
After he hides the body in the storage
that's
closet.
That's right. He hides the body in the storage closet, goes outside, cleans his gun, and then the cops show up, make him put the gun down because they're threatened, and then he stupidly invites them in. And he's like, "Oh,
well, because he gets recognized."
Yeah, well, because
he gets. Hey, aren't you Roger Cobb?
Right. He's, "Oh, can I ask you something? Can I use your bathroom?"
Yeah.
Oh, you have a pen? Can I use your bathroom? So anyway, so he gives the cops the slip, and the cops leave, and then Roger stupidly doesn't invite Harold to come back with him. Like now if I just shot what was it, or Grimace? If I just shot Grimace in the tits, I would probably say like, "Hey, listen, you want to come in? We just keep on drinking this coffee." But
I just shot Grimace in the tits.
I just shot Grimace in the tits. Now, Harold, you're going to think this is crazy, but if I got a whopper for you, so he tells Harold to kick rocks, and then he goes back, and then he notices this body isn't there. Oh, I forgot to mention too that when he shoots this Grimace in the tits, the Grimace turns back into Sandy.
Yes,
looking like Sandy.
Yes, she turns back into Sandy. Yes,
I forgot about that. So she turns back into Sandy. So he puts her in the closet at the time or whatever. Somebody comes back into the closet. This bitch is not there, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
Gone.
But it doesn't. It's weird. Like when it shows the shot, it just shows like the closet. It doesn't even show the floor.
No.
So it's like you see this shot and you're like, well, look down, dumbass.
Right.
Of course she's not.
She's not on the hangers where I left her.
You idiot.
So yeah, so she's not there, and then later on she or a minute later she pops up, and then here she is beating the shit out of Roger again
with the gun,
the butt of the gun, and kicks Roger's ass to the point he's laying on the floor, and then she points to him, and this is like probably one of the scariest lines of the whole film. She says, "Where's your son, Roger? You'll never find him. He's dead."
Yeah,
really
in that high squeaky voice. Yeah. Oh yeah, chilling,
really, creepy. Super creepy. And he said, no, he's not dead. And this is where he has like the real realization. He's like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, he's not dead. He's in the house. He's somewhere in this house.
He's somewhere in the house. I will find him.
Yeah. Yep. And then, she says, say your prayers. And then, I think he kicks her in the vagina and then jumps.
No, it's the gun's empty. Click.
Oh, that's right. The gun's empty. The gun's empty. He turns on Grimace. And then, I know he chops her head off.
He chops her head off all while you're no good, you're no good, you're no good.
Oh, that was funny because we got another one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. And as he's bagging her up, it's playing like one of the most like campy Motown songs you can think of.
Great.
And he's sitting there chopping her up and bagging her up, all the while walking out to the backyard so he can put her in the ground.
Yeah.
All while you hear, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good. I'm like, oh, wow, this is like, oh, man. I love this. I love this.
Such
this writing.
It was so 80s.
Yes, it's so 80s. Yes.
Yeah, I loved it. Feeling better. So he's scattered, so he doesn't scatter, but he obviously buries her pieces, and this bitch is still moving in the plastic bag. Can we just say how creepy that is?
That's
like
creepy.
The bag is still like kind of moving, and he's beating the shit out of it with a shovel, and then his other neighbor who's incredibly hot, not as hot.
He's just using his pool.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Just using his pool.
Yeah. And just like chilling in his pool, like, hey, this is normal. First of all, this neighborhood sucks. You have the most inconsiderate neighbors. One person's dog is shitting on his lawn. The other one's using his pool when he's not home.
The kid just walks in.
Yeah, the kid just walks in. What I mean?
Walks in the house.
Like, no wonder the house is haunted. It has all this bad energy all around it. And so she introduces herself and talks about how like she flirts with him and shit. You know what I mean? It looks like well, Roger's gonna get lucky, and he's all excited and shit, and But this is after he's beaten the shit out of a still moving, disembodied corpse in a plastic.
Like during the conversation, he's like nonchalantly trying to beat the shit out of this corpse because the hand's trying to like grab his ankle.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, you son of a bitch, He does stupidly say like, oh yeah, you come over anytime, and she says something like, I like to play or something like that.
Yeah. She says, it was, I know when a man wants to work.
Yeah.
I also know when a man wants to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I know when a man wants to play. And so, men, we do, but just not the way she had intended.
So he puts the body in the ground, and he like digs like 19 holes and puts a different part in each ground.
Yeah.
Well, all to realize as he's having another flashback looking at the pool, because he has all these Vietnam flashbacks. And I think this flashback, he was thinking about his buddy Ben, who was like his gunner or something in Vietnam. And all of a sudden he pops out of his flashback and he looks down, and there's this fucking golden retriever just randomly in his yard, digging up one of his 19 holes. And what does the dog find? The fucking hand. The hand that's still moving in his mouth. And the dog takes it and like, he's like, hey, get back here.
Yeah.
Give me that head. And that dog just skedaddles.
Gone.
And you're like, oh man, this is bad.
And it's so weird too, because he had to have thought like, okay, I could chase this dog down the street with this disembodied hand,
but I want to play with the neighbor.
But I kind of want to bang my neighbor.
We've all been there.
We have, you know what I mean? Like being a man, there's some difficult decisions you're going to have to make. That was Roger's cross to bear.
That was Roger.
Like, well, there's this free poon across the street. He's probably in there like smelling his pool water. Yeah.
You all know you do it too.
Oh,
all
totally.
you men out there watching this.
All right, so anyway, so this chick does finally come over, right? She does come over to play.
Hi,
And
ready to play?
Ready to play. And here's this little shit that's right next, below her, and there's this
goofiest looking kid
this
I've ever
fucking
seen
kid,
in my
this,
life.
This kid who's just a total cock block, and she knows it because she got, she has some dick appointment somewhere that she's late for, and she's like, "Oh, well, here you go, we're gonna play, and here's all these fucking toys." First of all, here's all these toys, and there's his bath toys and all this
bath
shit.
time's at 8.
Yeah,
I'm like this bitch.
This is so different from the poon that I was expecting. But I had that. So I had that. That bee. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, it was a He-Man figure.
It was like
figure. I don't know his name, but what was great is Roger is playing with the kid later, and he has the bee figure from He-Man, and he's like, "Here, you want to play with this?" Because the kid was having a tantrum, and the kid just kept crying, and he goes, "Oh, you just want him to buzz off, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah,
that's right, buzz off." Well, did you see? Do you remember what he offered the kid instead of the toys?
No, what was it?
He said, "Okay, how about a nice plastic bag?"
That's right. And if you have kids, you've all thought it.
Yeah,
you've all thought it, and then you're like, "Oh God, get that out of my head."
Shut the fuck up. Wear one of these.
Roger Cobb says it out loud for everybody. So if you have kids and they're just little shits.
So this kid, in Roger's infinite wisdom, takes on this kid, and then this kid ends up getting snagged up by all these little these troll monsters,
being tugged by these two creepy kid things on the top, and being pulled down by Roger Cobb.
Yeah.
What does he do to console this kid who just had a terrifying experience? Who wasn't scared, by the way.
Yeah,
he
said, "Wee!"
Yeah, he was just like, "Oh, this is cool." Roger says, "I'm going to give you a bath."
Yeah. I'm give you let's go ahead and take some a bath in this haunted ass house.
When the mom came back to get the kid, Roger notices that fucking hand that the golden retriever stole was on the kid's back.
Oh, that's right.
The hand is on the back of the little boy. And the mom's like, "Where are you guys?" And first off, Roger takes the kid into the bathroom, and he's trying to pull the hand off the kid.
Yeah.
And you hear the boy crying.
Yep.
And how does Roger get rid of the hand, you ask, in the bathroom? He
nice,
flushes it down the toilet like a fat turd.
Yep.
And then they come out of the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, well, this is where the neighbor gets freaked out and calls the cops and says, "Oh my God, this guy was trying to diddle my boy." No, they come out like best friends.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he just had to use the bathroom. Ha ha.
Everything's fine. Yep.
80s, baby.
80s. It was okay. Child molestation didn't.
It was
exist
okay
back
in the
then.
80s.
It was. It was just like, oh well, hey, they're having fun. Those
they're having fun.
Guys will do. They'll scream in the bathroom together.
It's terrible.
It came up. "Hey, Mom, here you go."
Hey, Mom.
I'm done with him now.
Hey, Mom. So he calls Harold over because he knows that it's almost midnight again, and he has Harold come over. He says "Hey, Harold, come over and watch the game,
right?
Or watch a movie." So Harold brings over beer, and when he gets in, he's like, "Actually, we're not going to watch a movie, but what we're going to do is you're going to help me try and get this raccoon out of my house that's stuck in the closet." So he opens the door, and he has Harold wear the goggles.
Yeah.
And Harold now is holding the shotgun that he found. And he's like, "Yeah, just kill the raccoon when it comes out. It'll be like hunting."
He says, "Fire right between the eyes."
And when they open the door, what do they get? That creepy ass monster from one of the beginning scenes just comes out again. And Roger's screaming, "Shoot it, shoot it, shoot it."
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, that's right. And he's like, shoot it, Harold. So he shoots the thing with a harpoon, and he says, "Oh, yes, shoot it again, Harold." Not remembering that he only had one harpoon with a line attached to it. And Harold's just like, "I can't. The line is attached. I can't.
The line's attached. I don't have another harpoon."
And so the line gets tangled around Roger's foot.
Yep.
And then drags him into the closet. Yep. So, I mean, if this isn't a metaphor for his shirts at this point, He's like, we know where you belong, Roger.
The V-necks,
Yep.
killing the hot wife.
Yep. Everything.
Playing with the son instead of the hot neighbor.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
This whole thing
if
is
she
innuendo.
came over and said, "Are you ready to play?" and she's like, "Here's my son," I'd be like, "Send your fucking son home. We're playing a different game."
So yeah, so he gets sucked into the closet, which turns out to be immersed into this
the jungles of Vietnam.
The Vietnam jungles, and this is where we start to see our closing sequence of the film, where he goes into the jungles and then sees his comrade Ben, who has been shot, and is begging Roger to kill him.
But it's the gayest way possible.
It is.
He goes, "You gotta finish me off."
That's right. Finish me off, Roger.
Finish me off, Roger.
Finish me off.
Yeah. And even
was,
my wife was like, "That's pretty gay."
Kind of gay. It was kind of gay. I can imagine the director being like, "Okay, I want you to say finish me off," and then Roger's going to cry and then lean into you with his mouth open and have all these sounds. That's what happened in the movie. So Roger doesn't kill him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get help," or whatever the case is. Runs away, and then all of a sudden, the Viet Cong come in and drag off Ben. like
I'm gonna get you, Roger.
This is like, Jesus Christ, would it have been that hard to fucking help your friend out? Maybe
do is just finish him off.
You
just teabag him in the mouth,
top him off a little bit, call it a day. So he gets dragged off, swearing revenge on Roger. Roger gets shot. Or gets shot at, and then comes back out of the closet.
Yeah, and runs towards the open light, which is the closet door.
Yep. And then comes back into a waiting Harold, and then
who's passed out on the couch.
Super, wasn't a fucking help at all. It was funny too, because when Roger got sucked into the closet, the line went off, and Harold's like, "Huh."
Well, I guess I got that beer to drink.
So that's shit happens. He brings Harold onto the couch, drunk as shit, and then Harold's still talking about the raccoon.
The raccoon. Did we get the raccoon, Roger?
The raccoon, Roger. Like, yes, that's fine. That's good, Harold. You just take your forever nap.
Just take a nap.
Roger goes upstairs, right, and he sees this painting of Jimmy behind a mirror, screaming like, "Ah!"
A bathroom mirror.
Realizes that's his bathroom mirror. Goes to open the mirror. There's nothing there but his Percocets and his ludes, and
a big fat dildo.
But it was okay in the 80s.
It was okay in the 80s. It was pink.
It was a bookend, really. It was a bookend.
It was a massager.
It was a beer cozy. So he sees his big veiny beer cozy, and then closes it back up, and then realizes, oh well, maybe something else is going to happen here, because he then breaks the mirror, realizes there's something dark on the other side, and then even checks outside to see, like, well, wait a minute, this is, and the house is totally normal, right? So this is a totally different dimension that Roger now has to go into. So he fashions this rope, and he bravely flies into the mirror, knowing that he's going to go try to retrieve his son. And as he's going down this rope, there is this weird demon bird.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't know what it was. It was just like this devil pterodactyl mix that goes in, like tries to scratch him, and then he gets away, and then he goes away in the darkness, and then Roger's looking around and saying, "Oh well, where'd this bird go?" So the demon bird comes back again. The demon bird comes back again, and this time takes Roger's shotgun away from him. And then goes back into the darkness. This is like this is almost like a video game where you have like these 3 stages of the final bad guy,
Yeah.
And
then you lose all your weapons.
Yeah, right.
You lose all your weapons and hearts.
Yep. And then he reveals his final form. And that the demon bird does. He comes back into the scene and does this amazing twirl with the shotgun. Did you see that? Like the way he twirled it around, and then fires Roger's rope away. And then Roger plummets to the ground below. Catches up with his son, who's trapped in a cage, takes his son out, and then the son says, "Oh, he's coming back." And Roger's like, "Who?" And all of a sudden,
coming back?
Then you hear the shots, And then there is this running away that Roger has with his son, and they take refuge in this pond area. And then you see a little bit of a glimpse of this person who's trying to shoot them, and it's just this nasty figure, this dark, shadowy figure that's trying to shoot him. And then Roger and him, emerge from the pool. They go into the house all happy and stuff while this happy music is playing, thinking that the whole thing is over.
The horror's over.
The whole thing is over, and then we get the big reveal. And Roger refers to him as Big Ben.
Yes.
Big Ben. And it seems as though like this reasoning is somewhat anticlimactic. I mean, I get it. You wanted the guy to top you off, but it doesn't mean you have to kidnap his son.
And of course, Big Ben is his partner that was in Vietnam, his gunner.
Yeah. So that was the guy that Roger didn't kill in Vietnam, and this is, he's having all these flashbacks
a zombie.
About, now he's this zombie guy. And it's funny too, because when you see Big Ben, like if you look closely, you can see, you couldn't tell back then. You don't have the high definition in 4K that you do now, but you can totally see the actor behind the mask.
Oh yeah.
You can see his face and his eyes and his mouth kind of moving within the mask. So Ben is beating the crap out of Roger. They fight all the way up until this kitchen, and the kitchen area breaks off into this cliff, right?
Right.
And then Roger falls off the cliff and is barely hanging on with his hands. And then Big Ben steps on his hand, so Roger loses his balance. But Roger takes off his belt, wraps it around Big Ben's hand, and then pulls him off the cliff. And then
again, another sexual innuendo.
Total. Yeah, 100%.
It's okay to be gay in the 80s.
It's okay to be gay in the 80s, as long as you're fighting a zombie in a V-neck shirt. It was okay. So
it's okay.
He plummets to his watery grave, at least so it seems. And there you have that scream, that this scream to the fall, and then it looks like Roger and Jimmy are totally happy again. He loses Jimmy again.
Right.
And then he goes to find Jimmy, and then Jimmy is actually being held up by Big Ben, who returned and basically said like, "Oh, you're not going to get rid of me that easy," and blah blah blah. And then it wasn't until like Big Ben, like Roger goes to grab Jimmy from him, and Ben cuts off Roger's hand.
Yeah.
Cuts off his hand. And then he looks at his hand. He's like, oh, wait a minute. It's still here, And then he says like, oh, I'm not afraid of you anymore. This is a classic 80s.
Not afraid of you anymore, Ben.
Ben. I'm not afraid of you, Ben.
Not afraid of you, Ben.
So he says, I'm going to beat you in this house and blah, blah, blah. Takes out his grenade. Or he takes Jimmy away, takes out his grenade that he just so happened to have on his person, which is great. And then shoves it into Ben's ribs.
Yep.
And then you have that, I'll get you for this, as he's doing the cha-cha. I'll get you for this. The Macarena and shit. So Roger and Jimmy run away. The house blows up, and out comes Sandy, who's very happy because, after Roger rescued Jimmy from the depths of evil, the first thing he wants to do is see his mother. So he runs into his mother's arms, and everything is so happy. Roger smiles, and then we fade to black, and the movie's over.
And what's the moral of the story?
It's okay to be gay in the 80s.
It's okay to be gay in the 80s, and stand up to your bullies.
Yeah.
If you're at school and you got someone picking on you because you're gay, because you got something wrong with it, you got a lazy eye, whatever, stand up to those bullies. That's what this movie teaches us.
Awesome. It was a great moral. Now, of course, I didn't get morals back then. I just saw somebody blow up a zombie, which is good enough for me.
With a grenade.
Overall, I would place House probably in one of the best horror films I've ever seen. It was just so
fun.
well done.
It's just a fun movie.
It is, and you see a lot of emulations nowadays of like haunted houses and things like that. Nothing quite like House with this backstory, the way it was delivered. And it was just so well done. And it was funny, and it was heartwarming at points. And then, of course, you have this great finale. Of course, I think they ended it pretty abruptly with just him smiling at the camera, and then that was it.
Yeah.
But it could have been better.
No like secret horror ending or anything like that. Just him smiling.
So anyway, that was fabulous. That was House. So I want to thank you very much for coming on, and this is our inaugural show, and obviously we have a lot a lot of work to do as far as, getting it to a point where we're going to be doing this more full time, and we'll do this more regularly. But if you like this sort of content, thank you all very much for watching at home. I do appreciate that. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that sort of fun stuff, so it's good for the algorithm. So maybe your friends can actually watch this stuff too, and we can make this more of a regular thing. So Thrash, thank you very much for coming on, and I appreciate all of you for stepping in to watch with us today, and we'll see you next time for the Retro Rental Review.